Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new video, and today we are doing another shortlist video. We're doing the 2024 Pennsylvania Senate race candidate shortlist. I believe I said I was going to do this, I really don't remember, but we are going to go through. We're going to do 5 candidates for each as we typically do things. I think I've got my old system back, or a new one. You're about to find out. Starting off with the 5th strongest Republican I could think of, or have looked through the many candidates that could run or, are just around, I guess. First, we have Kieran Skinner. I believe I am pronouncing that name right. She is the former policy planning director under Donald Trump. She has also previously served under the George W. Bush administration. Her pros, of course, she has a very strong foreign policy stance. She knows what the fuck she's talking about, serving in the State Department for many, many years. I believe she served a few months in the Obama administration as well. I could be wrong about that. However, she is very much a sort of Roosevelt or Teddy Roosevelt big stick interventionist or isolationist, depending on how you want to look at it. Of course, saying that we should just get in, get out, as she was very much against Bush's whole foreign policy ideals, but isn't really on board with Trump, which is, stay out, no matter what. Even if Trump is being influenced by a bunch of interventionists, she's very much in the middle of everything, saying that us getting into a sort of confrontation with China, whether it be a sort of similarity to a Cold War, saying it would be a very bitter confrontation because it would be like nothing the United States has experienced before, saying we should try our best to not, anger them as it would affect the dealings and the economy here in the United States. And of course, she's also pushed in the past for, domestic manufacturing, which is something that a lot of people outside of the office holders online have said, yeah, we need to start doing so. Her biggest con is that she is a general political unknown. She has never run for public office. She was, people thought she could have run in 2018 against Bob Casey Jr. However, she had said nothing of the sorts. It was more like, she's currently under the Trump administration. She's from Pennsylvania. She would be probably a pretty solid get for the race in general. And of course, we don't know what her general appeal is. Would she appeal to the Trump base? Would she appeal to the suburbs? Would she appeal to black voters? I want to say yes, but that just because he's black doesn't mean she will. But will she appeal to white working class? We don't know, because we don't have anything off of her. And the fact that she's more of a professor working for, teaching people about, national security as well as public leadership. And, in fact, she's an author as well who, despite writing, conservative leaning, books, she's never really, given her own opinions on certain things. So, again, we just don't know anything about her. Of course, that could be a good thing, but it's mostly a bad thing. The number 5 strongest Democrat is, of course, Conor Lamb. He did run for Senate in 2022, and he is the former U.S. Congressman from Pennsylvania's 17th Congressional District. He did retire in 2022 to run for Senate. Of course, that did not go well for him. So some pros for him: he did outperform Joe Biden at the top of the ballot in 2020. I believe Trump ended up winning his district. However, he ended up winning re-election against Sean Parnell anyway. He does have ancestral Democrat appeal, which is what helped him get elected in the first place, as well as what helped him get reelected in 2020. I believe he also got elected to a full term in 2018. However, any Democrat would have ended up winning that race. He has military experience, which, some people don't give a shit about. Some people, do give shit about it. So I just put it in pros because that is something to think about. He also has very strong anti-establishment tendencies. He did vote against Pelosi for Speaker. He did, a lot of Democrats who got elected in 2018 said they weren't going to vote for Pelosi, and it was such a high number that Pelosi probably would not have, been elected Speaker if, some, backroom dealings didn't occur that, a lot of people who said they weren't going to vote for Pelosi did end up. But however, Conor Lamb was one of those people who did not budge. He ended up voting for Joe Kennedy III for Speaker. But, he is someone who keeps his word, and he does this. He has broken against party lines many times during his short tenure in Congress and has established a bipartisan record. However, I think his biggest con, and the only one I could really find, of course, if you were to run for Senate again, you will find many, is that he is very tough on crime and very tough on drugs. That stance will hurt him with the urban voters. However, he would still probably run even with Biden, if not maybe a point or two behind, because independents might vote for third party, might not vote at all, might vote for the Republican, depending on who they run. If it's someone like McCormick or Oz or Mastriano, independents might not support them as well. Maybe they'll support Oz, because Oz really did well with independents. Comparatively, it was really Republicans not turning out for Oz in the western Pennsylvania that really hurt him. But either or. The fourth strongest Republican is the Pennsylvania treasurer, the incumbent treasurer, Stacey Gardner, who was elected in 2020. Yes, the same year Joe Biden ended up winning the state as well. So some pros to her is she is, of course, an incumbent statewide office holder. Republicans don't have a lot of those at the moment in Pennsylvania. I don't want to say she's the only one. However, they don't have many if she, isn't the only one. She has military experience. Of course, she did vastly outperform the top of the ballot in 2020, outperforming Donald Trump by like 5 points. I think she ended up winning against an incumbent Democrat by 3 or 4 points. And of course, she has very slightly helped give a boost to the housing market in Pennsylvania. Of course, she led a strong boost, helping several state senators across both parties introduce legislation that would, of course, give empty properties to Pennsylvania residents, which, of course, slightly, and I mean very slightly, lowered the cost of housing in Pennsylvania. And, of course, gave people a new place to live, their own land, etc. Of course, some cons, she does have a lack of political experience. As I was making this, the second point really might not be a big deal, but at the same time, it might be. She has lost elections previously, but I don't think it's that notable to mention, so you probably won't see anyone else on this list, such as Conor Lamb earlier, who have that on their cons, because most of these people have lost elections in the past. But I think her biggest con is that she has past claims of election denial, which will fucking hurt her in the suburbs. It'll be interesting to see if she wins re-election in 2024, if she chooses not to run for Senate. So our number 4 Democrat is Joe Sestak, the former congressman from Pennsylvania 7th Congressional District. I don't know why I said 17. Anyway. So this guy has run for office statewide multiple times. I think he's run for Senate twice or 3 times, and he's lost the primary all 3 times. Actually, I think he won the primary once, but lost to Pat Toomey. I believe that was the case. But some pros to him is that he does have military experience. Copy-paste what I said about Conor Lamb previously. He has previously defeated incumbents in primary. Scratch that. I don't know what I'm talking about. He did end up defeating Arlen Specter in a primary, then Pat Toomey beat him. I think it was because it was a massive red wave, so not really Sestak's fault. He has pushed for mental health care advancements while he was a U.S. congressman. Of course, not really so much for depression stuff, more like for autism and stuff like that, which at the time was huge because not anyone has done that before. He did also co-sponsor the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal, something that was vastly popular amongst the country. And of course, another pro, unless you're not into this sort of thing, is that he's very conservative / populist on economics. He supports tax cuts, very much a protectionist on trade, something that will help him vastly in Pennsylvania, a very pro working class state. Some cons is that he's getting on in age. He is 71 years old, and again, I think everyone's getting sick and tired of these old-ass people running things in this country. I think 70s are cut off. I'm just saying that. Another con, which could also be a pro, is that he did leave the Democrat Party to join the Forward Party, which you might be like, then why is he on this list? He's not even a Democrat anymore. Because he could easily just, go back to being a Democrat and then run. Which would, of course, hurt him a lot, and he would also have funding from the Forward Party. How much funding would that be? I don't know. And then we did have a major scandal during the 2010 Senate race against Pat Toomey. Was when he was hosting an event and fundraising that went to a Republican PAC, which boosted his opponent. Of course, he said he had no inclination of this. Of course he didn't. He was fucking funding his opponent. It was just a big oversight, which shows incompetence potentially. The number 3 Republican on this list is Congressman Mike Kelly from Pennsylvania's 16th Congressional District. He is currently the incumbent. And so this one's a very strange case. Some pros to him is he could self-fund himself. He is worth $12.8 million, which, is a lot of money. He's very outspoken, similar to people like Donald Trump, which, Trump has won in Pennsylvania before, so we can't really count that out for Mike Kelly because outspokenness has helped before. However, this could also be a con. And at one point, and sometimes still, however, it's very rare, he is one of the most bipartisan members of the House. I believe he still is, just to a very, very much of a less extent. He has previously won awards for said efforts, as of course he was very bipartisan during the Obama administration. And of course, he has representing a district with a heavy white working class influence. So those, he has been in office for so long due to very strong pro-worker votes he has implemented during his time. Of course, Democrats and maybe some independents will say, dude, this guy's a fucking moron. But I digress. Cons, again, the age. He's 75 years old. People really are getting tired of the old people stuff. No hate to them. It's just we're tired of it. We just want younger folk. Of course, he was embroiled in a fake elector scandal as a fellow Republican, Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, accused him of, trying to send in fake electors to overturn the results in Pennsylvania. This was unproven. Of course, he denied it, and he was not investigated whatsoever. However, I'm putting currently not because if you've been paying attention to events, which I kind of have, then he could be investigated literally tomorrow. Of course, there was also a loan scandal during the COVID-19 pandemic where he took loans, which, by the way, comes from taxpayers' monies, by the way, where he paid his employees from his business using said loans, taxpayer money. So he's paying them with their own money. It was not a good time. Of course, he also is a promoter of certain conspiracy theories, such as the deep state conspiracy theories, which, certain things of it, I could imagine, and other things are like fucking crazy, like the cocaine orgies and shit. Of course, he also voted against election certification for the state of Arizona. However, he didn't do it for Pennsylvania, I believe. However, I could have that mixed up. It could have been the other way around. And he also voted against the $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill, which may or may not still hurt him, considering it is 2023. COVID's not that big of an issue. However, apparently a new strand of COVID has been found in New York City, which could just give us 2020 deja vus all over again. The number 3 Democrat is Jim Kenney. I think I did a 2022 Pennsylvania Senate shortlist, and I had this guy on that list as well. I think he was like number 2 or number 3, but he is the incumbent mayor of Philadelphia, and he is term limited in 2024. So some pros to him is he is, of course, the mayor of the largest city in Pennsylvania. That's a big win for him in either a primary or a general because, the largest city has a lot of influence over the state of Pennsylvania. He has had a strong push for local control of schools, which you might, get vague, deja vu of Republicans wanting a push for local control of schools instead of, statewide or nationwide. However, Jim Kenney doesn't really do it in a conservative way. It's very, very different. Like, you got to squint at it. But you could easily see it in a primary where people are accusing him of pushing Republican talking points for said local control of schools easily. However, that is still a very popular thing. Despite that, it was a very popular thing when it was implemented in Philadelphia. Also, he's very outspoken. Copy-paste, it could also be a con. So, speaking of cons, he has a terrible record on economics. Of course, Philadelphia has gone into debt quite a bit during his tenure as mayor, with his huge spending bills going over budget many times. He's been criticized by Democrats serving on the Philadelphia City Council. So, take that with what you will. He also has a past of implementing new taxes and increased taxes. I think I mentioned this last time, the soda tax, which was an 11% tax on soda. So if you ever go to Philadelphia, that shit's going to be expensive. I believe his whole reasoning was to, push people to stop drinking soda, which, sure, I guess. And also if people still buy soda, that's going to be funding for your city. But it's never going to be a good thing when people hear about a new tax or just tax increases in general. He's also pushed taxes on, general sales as well on a 6% level. That was great. And of course, we have to talk about the turmoil Philadelphia went through during the COVID-19 pandemic. The opioid increase, the violence, riots, increase in gun violence, shootings. That is still going to be a thing he's got on. People are going to look at him for. Whether or not it'll affect him, I don't know. The number, I believe, 2 Republican is Bruce Castor, the former Pennsylvania Solicitor General. This guy is fucking strange, but however, he's either going to be one of the best candidates you can find or one of the worst. There will be no in between. He served as the defense lawyer for Donald Trump during his second impeachment. Some pros is that he has ancestral Republican appeal. However, since 2016, it has been untested. He was elected in Montgomery County, a very blue suburban county that borders Philadelphia. So there you go. He served from 2008 to 2016, 8 years in that position. Some cons, he has a political corruption scandal. However, it is proven, or it's unproven. He's denied it. He was accused by his opponent. He didn't have any proof. Neither side had any proof to any sort of political corruption, backroom dealings, all that stuff. However, the Court of Public Opinion sided against Bruce Castor, which fucked him up royally in that Attorney General primary, and he is mostly a political unknown. We don't know if he's a staunch Trumpy guy on the far right or if he's just a Trump guy in the center. We don't know. We don't know if he's, economically populist, economically conservative, moderate, what his social stances are. It's very much an unknown. Similar to Kieran Skinner, like I said, he's either one of your best candidates or one of your worst. Now, the number 2 Democrat is Josh Shapiro, the incumbent governor of Pennsylvania, which, doing research for this video, kind of impressed with what he's done so far, not going to lie. He is, of course, an incumbent statewide office holder, which is always a boost no matter what party it is. He is a fundraising juggernaut, as seen in the Pennsylvania gubernatorial race against Doug Mastriano. Doesn't help that Mastriano got fucked royally in every single way you can imagine. However, while he was running for governor, he broke with the Democrats and opposed COVID mandates, such as vaccine mandates, as well as mask mandates. He opposed it. Shocking, I know, and that's a good thing because, independents and some moderate Republicans will vote for that. He also eliminated college graduation requirements for a lot of jobs. I think it was 90% of jobs that required a college graduation no longer have that. So, before you say anything, these were jobs that didn't really need a college graduation. You could have had a bachelor's degree in and let's say music or music arts or whatever. I don't know what music production. And you could get a job, working in a metal machining factory. It was jobs that really didn't need any sort of degree, just general knowledge, if you catch my drift. He has also worked with several pro-life organizations, signed contracts with them. The result was that they found common ground. Of course, these abortion clinics were still getting funding they need. However, anti-abortion clinics, that helped with therapy and stuff like that, they were also still getting as much funding. So both sides benefited from this. It's a great thing. Why the fuck hasn't this got any more attention? Some cons, of course, is that he does have a past of implementing tax increases. He had a 13% tax increase serving as, I believe, a Bucks County Commissioner. Fact check me. Which, of course, he has implemented as he went into Attorney General's office. He supported tax increases in legislation that the governor of the time, Tom Wolf, was pushing for. I don't believe it passed, however. And of course, he has a strong support of the death penalty, which as time continues is becoming more and more unpopular. Josh Shapiro would be a strong candidate regardless of the situation. The strongest Republican candidate is Ryan Costello. I say this, the Trump base will say, nah, he's not strong enough. He's never going to appeal to the Western Pennsylvania. And then the moderate wing, the people who, want to win the seat and will, for some reason, not choose a populist, will say there's no reason for him to run because, he has no appeal anymore. That's the point. He's your strongest guy because you're not risking anything. You're running against Bob Casey Jr. Okay? When was the last time that guy did not win by double digits? Pretty sure he won his Senate seat against Rick Santorum by double digits. He's the former congressman of Pennsylvania 6, which was a suburban district. He has appeal to the suburbs. He has a bipartisan record, so Democrats and independents could vote for the guy if he runs a campaign right. However, he did serve in a very gerrymandered district, which Casey could absolutely use against him. However, I don't know if it'll be effective. Some people might care about that, but I don't think it'll be that big of an issue. And again, as I said earlier, the MAGA base just fucking hates this guy. Even though there are a lot of them that want him to run because, of course, he's a strong candidate. He's honestly your best candidate because you're running someone who might do the best out of everybody, and you're not losing anything in return like you would with, say, Mike Kelly. Which, you know, if Biden ends up winning Erie County by enough, or if Democrats run a blue dog, or, you know, someone who is, you know, very center-left populist, and they win Erie County and maybe do better in the southern parts of the district, they could end up flipping that seat blue, which you don't want, because you already have a very slim majority. You see what I mean? So, however, the number one Democrat, I think it's very obvious, is Bob Casey Jr., the incumbent senator currently serving, has announced he is running for re-election. Pros, again, he's the incumbent. Incumbency factor is a huge deal, as we saw in 2022. He's extremely popular in the state, as I mentioned before. When was the last time he's ever lost or ever won by less than double digits? And, of course, he is in favor of fracking. However, this is mostly based off his voting record in the United States Senate since he was re-elected in 2018. As, of course, he's voted against every single measure that would, of course, you know, damage the fracking industry in Pennsylvania. And, of course, he's also moderate on abortion, which is give and take. Okay, this guy sometimes will, you know, vote for pro-life stances or he'll vote for pro-choice stances, so he does whatever. Some cons is that he tends to give some vague non-answers when it comes to questions that are very progressive-leaning. Of course, when asked if he supports, you know, Medicare for all, he'll just won't answer it. Like, he'll say some sort of mumbo-jumbo, and it'll always end with he just wants universal coverage, but he'll never just say yes or no to a Medicare for all support question. Also, again, as I mentioned earlier, these vaguely pro-life and pro-choice kind of can't tell with them sometimes. Republicans will say he's pro-choice, some Democrats will say he's pro-choice, and then, like, and those other Democrats and the independents will say he's pro-life. And then there's the other side that'll say he's just a moderate. Fuck it. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Chaotic One saying peace.